Well, clouds are pulling in this morning over Djuma Game Reserve here in the Sabi Sands, but it won't dampen our spirits. This is Safari Live. Well, good morning everybody. Look at those clouds. With a little bit of luck, it might bring a drop of rain. The bush does need it. That is beautiful. And it's set to be quite a stunning sunrise, so we'll definitely have to keep our eyes peeled for that. Good morning, my name is Tara, and joining me on camera this morning is Sebastian. And it is wonderful to have you on board on our live safari here at Safari Live. I really hope wherever you are in the world, you're all strapped in and ready to join us on the safari this morning. It is completely interactive. We have Tristan and Senzo on the other vehicle for you this morning. And we have the lovely ladies back in final control, Alice and Chantel, ready and waiting to hear from you guys. Now, if you're a new viewer and you're not sure exactly how it all works, we have the YouTube feed and we have the hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter. You can send in any of your comments, any of your questions as we drive around this beautiful reserve here at the Sabi Sands. And whatever you'd like to ask, nature related, you send it in and they'll pass it on to us so we can answer it live on air. We are in the middle of the African bush, believe it or not, so it is absolutely fantastic to have you on board. I'm really keen to see what's out and about, with the clouds bringing quite a cool temperature this morning, but it's not too unbearable. Hopefully the cats will be moving around and maybe even some more nocturnal animals while it's still quite dark. So let's see what we can find, and I'm sure we'll jump on board with Tristan at some stage so we can see what he's going to be doing as well. So it sounds like Tristan's already on the trail of something. We're going to see if we can catch up with Shadow, and she was seen last night, so we're going to head down Zoe's and around towards Impala Plains. But Tristan, I do believe, has a track, so if you jump on board with him and find out what that track is.
We do indeed, Tara. We have the track of a big male lion dwarfing the track of a civet on the left. Now, good morning everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari. My name is Tristan, like Tara said, and on camera today I've got Senzo, and hopefully it's going to be a really busy morning out here. We've really got tracks for this line, and I'm hoping that Tara is going to be able to catch up with Shadow, and hopefully she's walking a lot better than what we saw last night. Now remember, this is an interactive safari, so hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat should you want to say hello or ask any questions. We always love to hear from all of you. Right, well, I'm going to get onto this track as quick as possible. Thank you to those that actually did let me know about this. I actually knew already that there was a lion that had walked here. Apparently it was about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, a little bit longer. So I'm going to try and see if we can't find him. The chances of him being here, if he took Gowrie Cutline, is probably very slim, but he might still be here if he took Central. So we're going to just try and follow these tracks as best we can and see where they go. It is still quite dark, so following of tracks is not that easy, and also there's tracks that are just going up and down all over the place from when these guys were on that buffalo kill and walking here to drink and going there and back. So I'm going to try and see if I can't find some sort of sign. I've really actually lost the tracks now. Seems as though these tracks have turned around and are going back again now, which is interesting. But those look a little bit on the older side. This is the problem with this time of the day. It's quite tough to see what's going on. I just want to check quickly up against this junction that we have, and if there's nothing here, then I'm going to try and come back and see if they don't actually turn and go back up on Vubu again, because it looks like there's more tracks going northwards than there are going southwards at this stage, which is quite unusual. Generally lions, when they choose a direction, stick with it unless there's something call of something, or the roaring of maybe one of the coalition members from somewhere close by that can alter the tracks. Now Senzo's saying they're still going. Senzo, are they not going the opposite way? No, here they are. I've got them again. Well done, Sensor. You've spotted them. Excellent news. And the good news is that they are going down central, which is better news for us because the chances of this lion still being here if it's on central is much better than if it had gone Gowrie Cutline. Gowrie Cutline would have meant that this animal would probably cross the boundary quite quickly, whereas this means it's now going deeper into Djuma. So that is a really good sign. Now, hopefully, like I say, he's just continued on his way on central and has decided to lay down somewhere and allow us to catch up. So I'm going to try and do this tracking as quick as possible. Catching up with them is never that easy, so we'll try and see if we can't do it a little quicker than normal. Sorry, Franklin's out the way. Morning, morning, morning. Come on. Come on, little Natal Franklin. So there's little Natal Franklin that doesn't want to move. Come on. Let's turn the lights off and let our Franklin... Come on. There we go. Well done. Hope you have a safe day. Stay out of the way of all things large and full of sharp teeth and claws. I wonder if he hasn't turned up the hyena road and gone to inspect that carcass again. It would be interesting if they have. It sometimes does happen that there's, you know, this old carcass and they go past it and they just go and have a little look at it. It'll be quite weird if he has, because generally once they leave it they try and kind of go on and do their own thing, but sometimes, just sometimes, they will go back. Now I'm going to carry on with these beautiful big male lion tracks and see who did it and who is where and where they've gone. And while I do that, let's go to Tara, who I believe has got something that, well, this lion would love to be tucking into this morning.
Oh, they certainly would. So we have a Birchall zebra on the screen for you. Quite a pretty pattern actually, this zebra. You can see the brown shadow stripes on the rump, which separates it from other type of zebra. So there's 3 species of zebra, but then within that there's subspecies. So I believe there's now 10 subspecies of zebra. So the Birchalls are one of a number of plains zebra subspecies. The extinct guacha, I can never pronounce it right, so I'm hoping I'm saying it right this time, which they're trying to bring back actually, but that's also a type of plains zebra, so closely related to the Birchall zebra, but that one had brown on part of the body and then stripes on the back half of the body. Unfortunately it was actually hunted to extinction, but I do believe somewhere in the Cape they're trying to bring it back. I think they might have been successful with a foal a little while back, but I haven't heard anything since. So then we have the Grevy's zebra, that's further north from Africa, and that's the ones with the very thin stripes. And then we also have the mountain zebras. So those are the three species, the mountain zebra, the Grevy's and the plains. So the plains actually have a small family group. I can see there's 3 on the screen, and there's actually one that's just popped out behind a bush just to the right of those. So they do form this small family group with a male and a number of females. And it's quite interesting actually, when a female, young female, if she's with her family, the first time she actually comes into estrus, she advertises it extremely well. So she stands with her head held high and you know, sort of really puts it out there that she's in estrus, and any of the males that are in the area will try and steal her away and maybe mate with her. Now that mating might not be successful, so she'll return to the herd, and this will keep happening, but every time she comes into estrus it won't be advertised as strongly, and eventually a male will actually steal her away from her father, and the mating will be successful and she'll stay with that male. And that's how the males actually build up their harem or family group.
Oh, one's roaring.
Ah, there we go. I don't know if we picked that up on camera, but there is a lion calling. Sounds to the east of the zebra, hey? Yeah, I think someone else is also confirming east. So hopefully Tristan's on the trail. Laura Mora asking if one of them is pregnant. Difficult to see from this angle to make sure, because they do have a build-up of gas. Because of them being a hindgut fermenter, and say the hindgut fermenters do tend to be quite rounded because of the build-up of gas. But perhaps actually the one that came out from the right could be. That one looks, yeah, you can see quite barrel-shaped. I think that one looks quite pregnant. So there isn't a particular breeding season for zebra. A few little birds chattering at the back there. I think that's my favourite bird, the fork-tailed drongo. Very nice. It's starting to get a little bit lighter. Still not brilliant for tracking. So hopefully Tristan will do his level best, especially with that audio. And I don't know if we've been able to hear, but there is some ground hornbills calling to the north. I think it's that big family again, which is really lovely to hear. I think it might have just been a little bit faint. It's like a boo-boo, 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 boo-boo. Is there anything you're hoping to see, Seb, today?
I'm not going to die. I'd like to see Shadow again, see how she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to see how she's getting on. So for those of you who weren't on drive last night, Tristan and Seb found Shadow, and it looks like, is it a front right paw?
Yes,
that she was holding up, and she was hobbling a little bit, but apparently she actually scaled a termite mound, and she did use it a little bit, so she might have either knocked it badly or there could be something in it, but unfortunately I think as she was about to lift it up that Tristan might have been able to see, a car drove past, so she put it down again. So we're going to try and see if we can catch up with her and see how she's doing. But remember, animals are very robust, so we kind of think that as soon as there's an injury or something, they are going to have problems, which they will, but they are able to get around those problems if they're strong enough. And she's got strong genes. I mean, she's Karula's cub, and Karula was quite a strong lady, so I think she'll be okay, but it'd be nice to actually catch up with her. So just trying to read the newspaper this morning. Quite a few antelope, zebra. The zebra actually came from down here. We had their tracks coming up on the road. Looks like dwarf mongoose aren't out yet. A little bit overcast for them. It might take a little bit longer to wake up this morning. Hi Vicky. Vicky would like to see a water buck this morning. That would be lovely. We've been seeing some beautiful big males, sure. Really rather impressive. So we're gonna catch up with Tristan, I think. So he's hot on the trail, and with that call we just heard, hopefully that's kind of helped him to pinpoint where the lion might be. Let's hope he catches up with him before he enters very thick bush. So let's jump across and see how he is getting on.
Well, Tara, unfortunately I didn't get to hear the roar at all, which would have really helped quite a lot. I found the tracks now crossing into between Central and Battalier Road off Nyala Road South. Now I'm just trying to get around because it's impossible to penetrate that area. It's a big deep drainage and then thick bush on the other side. Now there were Franklin's alarm calling, so I don't think I'm far behind him, but it's just that I can't get to where those Franklins are. So I'm now going to try and see if I can't just quickly move and get towards Battalier Road and see if he's not going to pop out somewhere there. Otherwise we'll just have to keep doing loops until we find some sort of sign of him. But he has definitely gone more south of Central. I've checked nicely now on Central, there's no tracks coming out, and hopefully he'll let out a big booming roar somewhere near where I am and I can then hear him. The other side of it is maybe there's a second Birmingham somewhere here. I know that yesterday there were 2 Birminghams with the Nkuhuma females, and we had that one crossing into Little Gowrie, so there was definitely 3 of them around. So it wouldn't be a surprise at all if there's maybe one other that's still here. Now it is getting light enough that I don't really need the spotlight, but the spotlight helps just with picking up some eye shine far into the distance while it's still gloomy. So while I'm still can't really see nicely, it's better to have the spotlight out that I can just pick up a little bit of eye shine deep in the bush, and then maybe that will give him away. So that's what I'm using the light for at this stage. Now I'm really hoping that he's going to pop out somewhere where it's easy to find him. We certainly are going to turn off when we get onto Battalier Road for a little bit and just see if I can't listen to what's going on. No tracks for him coming out here yet. So it's also at this time of the day really difficult to see tracks because at the moment it's quite sort of dark. There's no real shadows being cast, and so you'll see every now and then I just put the spotlight out the side of the car and just lower it, and that just gives me a better angle on the track itself. If I shine directly on the track, it's very difficult to make it out because the spotlight is so bright. But if you put it down a little bit, you get a lot more contrast on the road, and it becomes much easier to see the footprints as you're driving, as opposed to having no light at all. So that's why I'm doing that. So you might see me lean to the right a little bit every now and then. It's not a nervous tick or anything like that, it's just really trying to see what's going on. Okay, here we go. So we are at Battalier Road now. Charlie, you're asking how far would these Birminghams be from where Shadow was last night. Charlie, we're on the opposite side of Djuma, so she's on the far western side, basically on that ridge over there. So from here, if we look, there's a ridge straight across from me. So she's just on the other side of that ridge, basically, whereas we're on this side. So very far would be the answer to that, but I don't know where exactly he came from, or if the others that are roaring have also come from this area. So it'll be interesting to know what the situation is and how Shadow's doing. Like I say, I was a bit worried about her last night, and I'm hoping that she's looking a lot better this morning, and I hope that Tara can at least catch up with her and see how she's doing. It would be nice if she is walking a lot better and maybe reunited with the cub. That would always be a positive sign if it were the case. So that's what we've got to hope and pray for. Let's see, anything here? Seems these Birminghams have a habit of doing this. Just when you get close to where their tracks are, they disappear into a thicket rather than just ambling down the road, which would make it much easier. I was hoping we'd catch him on Central, just walking down the road. It would have been a lot easier to find him, that's for sure. So let's see how it goes though. Maybe we'll get lucky. Now from where we are, he would have come out a little bit further in front of me, so it's pretty much a similar route that the Nkuhuma Pride walked a few days ago when they were coming back from Torchwood. You just have to look carefully here. This is not an easy road to see tracks at all. Nothing that I can see. Nope. So it's a similar route that the Nkuhumas walked the other day, and so I'm hoping that he's going to come through on a similar line, and it'll make it much easier for me to find him. Now it could be that this is Nena, because Nena, and I know this is a big call, but Nena, I've followed him in exactly the way that we're walking now, all the way through. So it could be him, that he's just on the same route that he's walked, and in fact he's done it twice with me through this section. So I'm going to hope that it's him, and that I can just predict roughly where he's going to come out, and hopefully we'll be on the money. Now, let's see how Tara is going with shadow search as I continue my search for this male lion.
Welcome back, everybody. So sounds like he might still be around, so keeping everything crossed. Tristan is pretty good at his tracking. I think he's the tracking king here. So I'm on that new road. I'm just looking for any sign of shadow. I don't know if this ever got given a name, but we're just past the mass that, when in my day, wasn't here. So this one's a new one, which allows us to actually traverse this western side. So we used to get some signal breakup. Ah, Mendoza Road. Thank you, Mendoza. I believe we were enjoying some Mendoza the other night, eh? And I think some viewers might have been as well. Oops. Hi, Deborah. Welcome on board this morning. Deborah wanting to know, will leopards evolve to have coalitions and prides? And if circumstance changes that they need to do that, then potentially they can. But the reason why they don't at this stage is because they actually fill a gap. So each animal has what we call a niche. So if there's no other species around, they have what we call a fundamental niche, so they could potentially fill that gap. But if there's other species around, there'll be a section of that gap that they fill, because other species will overlap what they can fill. So that's called a realized niche, and that's what you find out in the wild. So that realized niche can change from area to area depending on what the species are around and that sort of thing. So the leopard fills the gap of pulling down bushbuck and duiker, animals that are around the 40 kilo mark, because they don't have a lot of mouths to feed. So if you form larger groups, you're going to have to either hunt multiple animals of the smaller species, or, as the lions have done, go for larger prey. But that also has allowed the lions and the leopards to kind of live together, because they do go for different prey. So with the tigers in India in the Ranthambone Park, things have changed for them, because they're not able to get the prey to fill their bellies for a single animal, or obviously a female with cubs. So they seem to have changed strategies like the lion. So they have adapted and now are hunting water buffalo in Ranthambone Park. But as I say, the circumstances are because they haven't got enough prey. So if there's still prey around here, and enough of the right size prey, then they shouldn't have to form the coalitions and prides. But obviously the other side of the story is that we've got a very high density of leopards. So it could be that they are almost forming these small prides, possibly to protect the cubs, to make sure that they do get through to adulthood. Because as we've spoken about quite a lot this week and the previous week about male cats, lions and leopards that will come in and kill cubs if there's a new male that gets taken out, a new male that actually mate with the female a lot quicker than what he would do if she kept the very young cubs and kept them through to a year and a half old. So it could well be that to avoid losing cubs on a regular basis, the males are almost being invited by the females to meet the cubs so that they kind of recognise them as their own and almost be around to protect them just in case other males do come in. So I'm just thinking, we're about halfway I think along this road. Is anywhere looking familiar where Shadow might be?
Where's Triple M?
Triple M's over there.
Yeah, then it would be on the right.
On the right,
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking for a very large termite mound. Was the termite mound quite far in or was it close to the road?
That's actually quite close, right?
Quite close to the road, okay. Actually, here? No, that looks quite small. Hi, Charlie. Welcome on board. The one with the bush on top.
That one there on our right.
That one there. Ah, okay. That might. Yeah. So she did come off of there and she started heading south, didn't she?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll keep driving. See if we can pick up anything. So, Charlie asking, would Shadow want to be higher than? Ah, there we go. These are the tracks going in. So it is that one. Would she want to be higher? Now, we were having this conversation and this was news to me, so it just goes to show. Oh, I can see the sun rising through the trees there. Are we able to get a... I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a nicer view, but that is just beautiful, that blood red sun, because it's being filtered through by the clouds. And look at that. So I'm just looking across of what we've got and I think it is pretty much just thick bush. So yeah, so it was news to me that actually a high termite mound is more effective than the trees, and it actually started making sense when Tristan was talking about it. So if you sat in a tree, the profile of the tree, or your profile in the tree, is actually quite obvious. And you actually do watch, when you watch the cats, they do look at the trees, especially the leopards. But on the termite mound, if you're lying on it, you actually blend in with the profile. And also it's going to be difficult for, especially if it's quite steep ones, hyenas and dogs might find it difficult to climb up the termite mound. But also the scent is going to be higher up, so you're not necessarily going to pick up the scent very easily. So talking to Tristan last night, and he was saying, I think there was some trackers that he was talking to, were saying, what, you know, where would you go if you caught out in the bush and you don't know where you are? What would be your ideal place to go, either a tree or a termite mound? And apparently they were saying the tall termite mound is the best place to go. So there you go, you learn something new every day. So I definitely have to keep that one in mind. But obviously it needs to be a decent sized termite mound, not one that's my height. So as we carry on looking for any tracks of Shadow, I think we're going to head over to Tristan and see how he's getting on with his cat trail this morning.
Well, Tara, we're struggling a little bit. It's just the block is massive and nothing that I can see coming out yet. So just doing it round in a circle one more time to try and see if there isn't any sign of it. It might still be inside here and making his way towards the other side. So I'm just trying to work out where exactly he went down. But I think he must have crossed where I am right now. Not that I can see any tracks. It's so difficult here. It's all rocky and hard. And if I went down into the riverbed, I might be able to actually see the tracks. The last track we have is just in front of us here. It's not far at all. And that's the last one that looked like it was coming down and into this area. Like I say, we had the Franklin's alarm calling, so that would make sense. In fact, there's the last track just on my left that we saw. Hey, Zenzo, that's it there. So from there, he looks as though he's gone down and straight across, which makes life a little bit more difficult. So I've stopped and listened as we've been going. So there's his last footprint that we have currently, and pointing straight in the way of the drainage line. And there's a little drop slightly here, and then it goes down into the riverbed, and he could easily have utilized that to get through. I've checked all the way along Nyala Road South. He doesn't come back onto Nyala Road South that I can see, so he must still just be inside this horrible drainage mess that there is between Nyala Road and Batalia and Central. So just going to have to be patient and just keep doing loops around and hope that he comes out. The problem with Batalia is a very difficult road to see tracks, particularly if he just goes straight over the road. Then we're going to really battle to be able to find where he's actually gone. So we're just going to have to hope for a bit of luck on this one, and that he pops out at the right time in the right place and we manage to be there. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit on this difficult side. Aurelio, you're wondering if lions are up all night. Well, not necessarily, no. So there's this big misconception with lion and leopard that they're nocturnal and that they roam around all night, chasing things, killing things, roaring, all of these kind of things, and that's not necessarily the case. A lot of the time, the peak of activity for lion and leopard is actually the few hours after sunset and the few hours before sunrise. In the middle of the night, it's often the case that they're actually just lying down and not really doing too much. So you've got to be a little careful with that and not read too much into them being active all night, but they certainly will, if an opportunity arises, move around at night. If there's some sort of hunting that they need to do, they will try and definitely take advantage of the dark conditions, but it's not that they're active the whole night. They don't just keep walking and walking and walking and walking unless there's a reason to. So unless there's males that are potentially in this territory that the Birminghams are trying to find, or there's females, or they've heard buffalo distress calls that they want to go and check it out, or something like that, will then attract them a lot more than just, you know, nothing happening. And then they'll rather just rest and conserve their energy than just moving around for the sake of moving. And it's been interesting to watch the lions in the Mara. We saw before the migration arrived, those lions there were not that active. I mean, they would hunt at night and every now and then, but it wasn't hugely active. But once the migration has arrived, they've taken full advantage and been a lot more active during the nighttime periods. I wonder where this lion is. He must be here somewhere close. But just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, this is what it looks like on the right hand side. So it is not a pleasant place to try and even get a car in. So even if we were to spot him, following him through here is near impossible. So hopefully he's going to come out onto a road again, like what he was doing when he was walking down Central, and that will allow us to be able to actually find him and seek him out and follow him, because even this is not going to be ideal at all. Lots of big fallen over stumps, which are never pleasant. Michael, you're wondering what the most difficult cat is to track. Without a doubt, hands down, the Anderson male. So the male leopard that we see, that we were seeing slightly west of us on Arethusa and those areas, he just does not stop moving for the life of him. It is so difficult to track him, and the problem with him is that he moves so fast. So you'll find fresh tracks and alarm calls, and by the time you get there, he's already crossed that block and he's on the other side and moving. I remember the one morning we heard him as we were having our coffee, and he was right next to Simamili Lodge, which is in the north, and within I think it was about half an hour of us getting going, he was seen crossing into Londolozi. So it's almost like he trots his way south. So he has by far been the most difficult cat that I've ever had to follow. He's never ever stops moving, and he always moves very fast. The thing is about the others is that sometimes you can track them. There are other cats that have been tough, that have been very shy and skittish, and they've been tough just because you track them and then they run away from you and you don't really get to see them, but you can find them. Whereas with Anderson, it's just it becomes such a mission to try and find that cat. And really the only sightings that we ever had of him, that we tracked and found him and were able to keep up with him, was either if we bumped into him on the road without actually really tracking, or if he was on a carcass or mating with a female. Those are the only times that we actually had a chance to keep up with his pace that he set, and be able to actually view him. So he's been, without doubt, probably the toughest cat that I've tracked. The lions are not too bad themselves when it comes to moving quite quickly, particularly the males. They tend to cover quite a bit of ground quite fast, but they at least leave nice big traces in the terms of their tracks. So that's the nice thing with them, is when you're tracking them, is that their footprints are so big that it at least gives you a chance to find them when they walk around. Where am I going to go from here now? I suppose Battalier one more time is going to have to be our best bet, because he hasn't come through. There's actually a Nyala over there, so they're looking very relaxed, which means he wouldn't have come through this way. Wait, there he's calling. Oh, he's already... Senzo, I don't think we're going to get him, but let's try. Sounds like he's crossing cheetah cut line already, so he must have come out behind us. But let's try and see if we can't quickly get around. He's definitely... Right, well, I'm going to try and quickly get across the cheetah cut line, see if I can't find him. And while I do that, let's go across to Tara, who I don't think has found any sign of Shadow just yet, but I'm sure she'll pick up something soon.
Nope, but we do have something up ahead for you. Good luck, Tristan. I hope you find the cat before he crosses. I've been wondering when we're going to be able to bump into some Wildebeest in a little while. And the ever-present drongo, my favourite bird. Keeping an eye out for any insects that those Wildebeest might just kick up as they walk through the grass. So another type of relationship, you might have heard us talking about mutualistic relationships where both parties of the relationship benefit. But for this kind of relationship, it's called commensalism. So only one benefits, but the other party don't benefit, but they don't have any negative impact either. Now, if you have a look at their faces, you should be able to see their mouths are quite wide compared to the Nyala you may have just seen on your screen. And that's because they are grazers, so the wide mouth allows them to take in quite a lot of grass. So they're a bit like a lawnmower. And you'll see that with the grazers. So white rhinos, they also grazers, so they have a wide mouth. But the black rhino is actually a browser. It eats the leaves and the branches. So that actually has a hooked lip, and again, quite a pointed face like that of the other browsers, the Nyala, the giraffe, animals like that, because they need quite a narrow face to get in amongst all the branches. And there goes our Wildebeest. Wild cow is the translation. Now I do pronounce it differently to what you would do in English. It's because I always got told off by the Afrikaans rangers for saying, I've got to think of how you say it in English, wildebeest. So it kind of stuck. Hi, Roger. Asking if Wildebeest can swim. And I think we might have a chance to see some swimming Wildebeest on the Mara. I'm hoping They'll be able to join us this week, and you'll be able to actually see how they cross the rivers during the migration. I say it has been really interesting to hear. We've actually had giraffes trying to cross the river, and I think that was the first time Steph had seen giraffes crossing. And they were a little bit nervous, as expected, with the fast flowing water and obviously the threat of crocodiles. Ah, Snazzy. Snazzy saying, with the wildebeest in the road, it reminds her of the book Where Wild Things Are. Do you know, I've never read that book. I will have to do that. There's the drongo just to the left of the wildebeest there. Possibly found so. You can see it's sort of looking down. Oh, there's its partner in crime is just behind it. I think it'll be behind the bush for you guys. But you can see that deep fork in the tail, and you can just about make out the red eye as well. So those are the two things that separate it off from the southern black flycatcher. And a slight hook to the bill. You can actually just about make that out when its head's still. Very peaceful. Oops. The youngster struggling through the bush there. Hi, Anna Marie, asking which antelope is the fastest antelope. Well, it's actually a very close relative of the wildebeest, and actually all the members of that genus do actually have a sloping back. So the wildebeest do have a slightly sloped back, but the other members, the hartebeest, of which the topee is also part of that genus as well, they have an even stronger sloping back, or even more defined sloping back. And the topee is actually one of the fastest antelopes on the planet. It can get up to about 70 kilometers an hour. And it's because of this sloping back, because it actually gives a lot of space for the chest area. It's got a very large chest cavity, so they have extremely large lungs, and to their body ratio, an extremely large heart. So the lungs obviously allow a lot of oxygen to get circulated to the muscles, and obviously the blood is the mechanism that actually allows the blood to be pumped to the muscles. So to make sure you have the stamina and the speed, you need to constantly have oxygen going to the muscles so they can work. And they have quite a relaxed sort of canter. It's almost like a rocking canter, and that's very energy efficient as well. So that's why, the wildebeest can travel relatively long distances at speed if they need to. So you can just about see the sloping back there of the blue wildebeest. There is such a species as the black wildebeest, and they have a white tail and white mane. Oh look, we're following on from Tristan. Is it you, Seb? You bring out the toileting animals. The horns on the black wildebeest actually go to the front and up, rather than like the blue wildebeest, the side and up. And the body is black. Although when you see the blue wildebeest in the distance, sometimes their bodies can look black as well. But you might be able to see as the sun's rising a slaty blue colour of these blue wildebeest. But they are antelope. A lot of people wonder if they are cows, but they are a species of antelope. And you can even see the stripes like the zebra. Hi, Ara Mora, asking if the small herds of gnu, that's their other name because of the sound they make, brindled gnu, brindled from the stripes, asking if they are less vocal than the larger herds. And they do seem to be, and I think with the large herds, when they congregate for the migration, you still have the small herds within the large herd, but they all congregate together to do the migration. So I think more chance of losing each other, so it's contact calling, keeping in touch with each other, whereas in the bush like this they're kind of sticking together. You can see they're all moving as one, but there's no other wildebeest to get mixed up with. They're a little bit skittish. Oh, so we're going from the two species of antelope that lions do love to get their jaws around to the predator itself. Enjoy.
Well, we've managed to finally catch up with Tinyo. He's just sitting in between all the roads, so luckily we've managed to see him. I don't know what he's spotted now that he's up and moving again, but he gave us the run around a little bit, but at least we've found him fairly quickly. And if it wasn't for Senzo's eagle eyes that spotted him deep in the block, we wouldn't have actually seen him. Now, it's interesting is he's turned now and he's going in a different direction, and the tracks that I found were coming straight to here, so I wonder if maybe, just maybe, there isn't a second male lion here somewhere that we've been tracking and he's come from a different direction, because it seems very odd that he's now going to go into another part or sort of go back the way he's just come, unless there's something that's motivating him to do so. The problem is we're right up against the boundary at the moment, so I don't know how long we're going to actually have a sighting of Tinyo. I think he's going to probably cross not too long from now, particularly if he heads the way he's heading. He's going to head up onto the cut line, but at least we managed to find him, which is awesome news. So well done, Senzo, champion. If it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't for Senzo, I don't know if we would have found them. I said to him that he must be here somewhere, because when we heard him roar it was exactly this direction, and then the tracks just disappeared off the road, and then Senzo said no, there he is over there. So it was a really good spot. He spotted him from far away. But Tinyo's looking fantastic. He's got a nice big full belly, obviously from that buffalo that we were talking about. And what has he seen here? He's coming and sniffing around, and there's actually a hole in the ground here. So just here is a hole. I wonder if there isn't maybe some warthogs that came running out of here, or something that went towards this area that caught his attention, and that's why he's come to this area to see what's going on. Or has he spotted something else? No, he's just sniffing around. What have you seen? Sky, you say you hope he roars. Well, so do I, Sky. We had him roaring just now, so he is still calling. So hopefully he will give us one more big roar, or at least a couple more big roars, because it's always the best sound in the whole world. And the sun is just coming up now over the eastern horizon, and it's the perfect time to let out one last big belting roar for us to enjoy. But he's scenting, definitely smelling something. I wonder if he hasn't smelt some females or something. You see he's now scent marking as well, so he's scraping those back feet, urinating, and that's to try and then open the soil up to allow that urine to penetrate, so that it stays for much longer, and it allows this male to leave a trace for a longer period of time. But you see he's now walking in exactly the direction that we've been following tracks. Like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he leads us to another male, which would be fantastic, although I see he's now lying down. Oh, my boy, why are you lying there? This is not the easiest of terrain to negotiate, but we shall try our very best. It's just one big solid aardvark burrow in this area at the moment, so I'm just trying to find a way to get closer towards where he is. Let's try and see if we can't just get over here, Senzo. There we go. Now that will be fine for now. We'll see what he does, but good, at least he's lying down, which is good. It means that he's starting to settle a little bit, and the direction that he's headed has actually taken him away from cheetah cutline a little bit, which is good news for us. But there's definitely something that caught his attention, because he was fairly relaxed, and all of a sudden he just stared in that direction, lifted his nose, started sniffing, and then walked straight up to where we are now. And now he's just watching northwards, and like I was saying to you, the tracks that we followed actually came from this side and was walking straight towards where he is now. And the last track I had is pretty much parallel with where we are now, so it'll be interesting to see if there is a second Birmingham boy here. But he is looking magnificent. His mane is getting very dark now. Ali, you're wanting to know how old Tinyo is. Ali, difficult to say, because they came from an area outside of the Sabi Sands. I know that we have a rough estimate that they're just over 6 years, approaching 7 years. So in terms of the individual Birminghams, I'm not 100% sure exactly what age they are. He looks a little bit scruffier than what he actually is. He's got lots of scarring on his face, and that's from fighting with not only his coalition members but with the Agama pride as well. So I think he's about 7 years, I would say just under 7 years old. It would be my guess as to how old he is, which means that he is just entering his prime. Generally male lions enter their prime at around 7, and then they really are at their best shape between 7 and 12 years old, and it starts to go downhill a little bit from there. So he's coming into that prime time of life. And like I was saying, his mane has started to get a lot darker. I haven't been seeing much of the Birmingham boys, and Tinyo, the first time I've seen him in a long time was at that buffalo carcass a few nights ago, and he really is filled out, and his mane has become much fuller and definitely a lot darker. It was interesting to see him with Nsuku and see how they kind of compared. Nsuku is definitely a bigger bodied lion than what Tinyo is, but Tinyo seems to have a much darker mane than what Nsuku does at the moment, which is, I suppose, why he's called Nsuku, which means gold. Now, I wonder, Senzo, do you want me to go forward so we get rid of the stump that we've got here? And there's a stump that's just in the way there for Senzo, so I'm going to just try and see if I can't just get around this bush and see if I can't get that stump out of the way for Senzo so that he can actually film him without having to worry too much. There we go, Senzo. How's that? Is that better? Wasn't that fun? There's something about tracking male lions when they're roaring and there's footprints and you trying to keep up with them. It's just the best tracking experience. Leopards is a different thing. Leopards is a test of skill, and it really is kind of, you have to work your way around and try and find them. With lions, it's that big booming roar and that excitement and anticipation as you follow these tracks and hope that you're going to find them, and then when you actually do see them, it's the best feeling ever. It's normally the nicest is when they're actually just walking down the road and you're able to find them like that. But we'll take the second best, which is him lying in a nice big grassy area. Oh, what's wrong? Just doing some maintenance, and this, I would imagine, would be before he settles down for the day. Mac, you're wondering if there are still 4 Birmingham boys? Well, as far as we know, yes. We've not heard any reports to contradict that, and we know that 3 of them were seen yesterday. So Tinyo was seen, and I think Nsuku, and I'm not sure who the third one was, but there was 2 with the Birmingham Pride. I mean, with the Pride, and 1 that was on its own. I don't know where the 4th one is. I know there's been some that have been hanging around in northern Mala Mala for a bit, so I'm not 100% sure where everybody is, but as far as I know, nothing says that there's any male lion that's been killed or died anywhere that the Birminghams roam, so there should still be 4 of them as far as we know. And it's interesting with them because they seldom spend time together. It's a strange thing. The Majingalans were a very different coalition. The Majingalans have always seemed to be together, at least 2 or 3 of them, bless you, Senzo, at least 2 or 3 of them together, and then they would kind of go apart to mate, but then they would come back together quite quickly, whereas the Birminghams tend to spend a lot of time either on their own or as a sort of 2 of them, and they only really come together if there's a food item. But that's been such a long time since I've actually heard of all 4 spending time with one another. What you doing, big boy? Makeup girl, you say you would love to feel his mane. It looks so fluffy and soft. Well, I don't know if about that. It's probably quite coarse hair, given that they have dust and all kinds of things that's in it all the time. But it would not be an advisable situation to touch his mane. I think it would not end very well at all. But I have actually touched male lions' manes before, and it's when we did a bit of darting of lions to test them for TB, and the mane, like I say, is not as soft as it looks. It's a little bit more coarse feeling, and it's just because of all the dust and dirt and things that are around, and as much as they try and groom, they can't really groom behind their ears and around their throat area, so it does get a little bit on the more coarse side. It's like if somebody hasn't washed their hair for a while, that's the kind of feeling that it gets. So it's not as soft as it looks, unfortunately. But you can see the black tinging coming through on the tips there. And hopefully one day, once he reaches a little bit older, pretty much most of that mane should go black, and it will be a beautiful sight when you do. And mane is a very interesting thing because it tends to be different in different parts of the world. Here in the Kruger area, our lions tend to have these multicolored manes, so they have both dark and blonde in their mane. It's pretty typical. If you go into the more desert, dry, arid areas, the males there tend to have very dark black manes. And then in some parts of Africa, you'll find that the male lions actually manes stay quite blonde. In Botswana, there's a few that have very blonde manes. So it's just an interesting thing that in different areas and different places, you see different colorations coming through. Now, it's said that darkness is there to basically represent to the females that this is a strong, powerful male, because any male that has to walk around in the African heat with a dark, thick collar of fur around his head is going to be a male that is strong and is in his prime and is able to keep other intruders at bay, because he wouldn't have that thick black mane if he wasn't dominant, because he wouldn't be producing nearly as much testosterone. So that's the theory behind it. And females, apparently, from the studies that they've done, do target the males with darker manes more than the males with lighter manes to mate with. So when they are mating, you'll find that they try and go after the darker, fuller manes, then, or allow the darker, fuller manes to mate with them, than the smaller, lighter manes. But I think he's bedding down for the day if he's grooming the way he is. Esther, you're wondering if a zebra could outrun a lion. Yes, a zebra can outrun a lion. Zebras tend to be able to maintain their pace for a longer period than what a lion does, and that's why lions have to get so close. Now, Esther, I don't know if you've watched any of our footage from Kenya and the Masai Mara, you'll find that our lions have hunted zebra many, many times there, and they have actually failed quite often. And it's because they've got to get very close, and then they've got to launch that surprise attack and catch the zebras unaware. Because once the zebras get into full stride, then the lions very quickly battle to get anywhere near them and are unable to keep up the pace for long enough to get towards the zebra. So they tire much quicker than what the zebra do, but they run at a similar speed in terms of if you had to get their top speed. They do have a similar speed at about 70 kilometers an hour. So but like I was saying just now, this grooming process is a sign that he is now getting ready just to rest. He's probably walked quite a bit, or we know he's walked quite a bit if it is his tracks that we've been following, and is now going to groom to get rid of all the parasites, ticks, and all kinds of other things that he may have picked up over his journey. And so he gets rid of that to get himself ready to have a really nice nap. He knows the sun is coming up, so in a few short hours it's going to get very hot, and that means that he's going to have to find somewhere to rest. And so I think this is pretty much him done for the evening, and this is where his final resting place will be for the day, which is fantastic news for us because obviously it means that he should theoretically still be here this afternoon. So we might have a whole day of Birmingham Day, which is very pleasant because it means it will chase the Monday blues away if we have our cats, which is fantastic. So hopefully that's going to be where Tinyo decides to lay down. It would be nice though if he let out one last big roar for us. It certainly would make me quite happy. But look at those eyes. Well, Nick, you're wondering if I've ever had an animal jump on the vehicle. Well, no, I've never had anything jump on the car. I've had a duiker jump over the bonnet between myself and my tracker, which was quite something, and I've had an impala male during a rut run straight into the side of the car, but I've never had anything actually physically jump on it. So I've never had any of the lions or leopards or anything like that. I've seen footage of a pride in this area, well, seen them doing it to another vehicle, and I've actually seen in myself another vehicle where the lions put their paws on the side of the car, but I've never seen one being sort of jumped on or anything like that. I have heard of it. There apparently was a leopard in the western sector called Kunzi that jumped on the bonnets of cars every now and then, which I find is a little disconcerting. No, he's decided he's not going to stay here, but he's walking deeper into Djuma, which is fantastic news. And I'm laughing because I feel sorry for Tax. Tax has just done this big loop to get into the right place, and as he's parked, this lion has now decided to get up and move. So poor Tax is now going to have to reposition once again. Morning, Tax. Score. Go. I'm just going to let Tax come through because he's got some photographers on board and they would love to obviously get some images of this lion, and unfortunately they haven't been able to get to him because, well, they came all the way around and then he got up and moved. So I'm just letting them go in front to give them a chance to see if they can see this male lion and get some nice photos while they are in Africa. And also because I've got to try and negotiate a safer way out of here. It's one big aardvark burrow and fallen over tree at the moment, so just trying to find a way through to keep up with Tinyo. You can see how fast male lions move. You'll see now when I get towards the road that they can really turn it on and move quite quickly when they want to. So keeping up with them can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. Let's see. There's also lots of stumps in this area from last year's drought where the elephants broke down trees and pushed over trees in search of food, so got to be a little careful. But look at this, isn't this beautiful? He's moving through the long grass. Oh, wonderful. So you can see there, it's just, isn't that a picture synonymous with Africa, of a big male lion walking through the long white grass? Absolutely fantastic. Now, I believe Tara has had a few gremlin issues and has been battling away with the gremlins, and so it sounds like she's fought them off valiantly and has now found herself some semblance of signal. So I think let's go across to Tara while we try and keep up with our male lion and see where he ends up. Hopefully he's going to lead us to another male, and so while we do that, like I say, let's go across to Tara and see what she's been doing and where she is and what her updates are.
Okay. Hello everybody. So we've done the whole loop around Triple M and the Medusa road. So we just thought we'd come in on the tracks that were left here last night just to see if we can't get a view actually in the bush here. I haven't picked up any tracks of shadow crossing, but as I say, it could have been there, been obliterated, and there might just be like a couple of toes or something that I might have missed. But we thought we'd just, because as I say, we're trying to stick on the tracks that were already made, just so we're not producing new ones. But we thought we'd just come in and just check the termite mound. Hi, Vulpine Girl. Good morning to you. Vulpine Girl wanting to know if you can tell from the tracks if an animal's limping, and you can, you'll be able to see that quite clearly, especially with Shadow's limp. So this is the termite mound that Shadow was on yesterday. We have just been south because apparently she did come down the termite mound and went south, but we were wondering if she might have just doubled back onto the termite mound, so we thought we'd just give it a quick check around just in case, because as Seb said, she can be camouflaged very easily on there. So it is quite an impressive size, sure. I can see now, yeah, very steep. So apparently she did it at a run last night. I'm just going to switch off just to see if we've got any alarm calls at all. And so chances are she's either gone to have found another termite mound, or she might be lying on the ground underneath a bush. Okay. Well, I'll try and go around the other side of it just in case. She might be on the side that we can't see. Hi John, how are you? I hope you're enjoying the safari this morning. John wanting to know what the strangest leopard behaviour I've seen. I think Mishu rolling in dung. That for me was quite bizarre. As you know, sort of dogs tend to like to roll in dung and make themselves smell like that, but I didn't think cats would be. Oh, this looks like wild cotton or something just here. That's very cool. Oh, I wonder if anyone knows what that plant is. It does look like a part of the wild cotton family or something. I've not seen that before. I wonder if you guys have come across it on drive with the other guides. That is quite pretty. I think that's definitely a new plant for me. It'd be nice if anyone can actually ID it. But certainly the interaction between the males and the females and the cubs is also very unusual. If you read the books, leopards aren't supposed to do that at all. Males are supposed to leave the cubs with the females and not interact with them. So certainly what we're seeing is unusual because it hasn't been documented before. But it could have been actually happening, but we just weren't aware of it. So while we check around the other side of this termite mound, I think Tinyo is on the move.
It'd be nice if he decides to settle somewhere. Like I say, it would be great if we could have him this afternoon, although the way he's walking, he's going to cross the Buffelshoek boundary in the next half an hour. He's moving so quickly. It's going to come out straight through here, but it is such a beautiful sight to watch him move. There we go. It's going to be a nice... See him just moving through the grass. Is that not a sight for sore eyes? Absolutely loving it, and I certainly am enjoying this return of these lions back into the area lately. It's been fantastic to see them and spending a lot more time seen previously. They've decided that they're going to actually grace us with their presence and not just come past us at night, that they're actually going to start spending some time here during the day when we can see them. Hello, boy. There we go. See a little tail lift, which is his scent marking. So just making sure that wherever he goes, that he's leaving a little chemical signature for those that are interested, and so that he also can tell everybody that this is my place, my area. Don't come into this unless you are one of my coalition members. There we go. He's going to rub up there and lift tail and spray again. Little scent marking. There we go. Well done, buddy. That should work. Oof, it's going to get rough in here soon, though, unfortunately, which is not ideal. To keep up with him is going to be quite tough. Earlier, when I was saying this is what we've got to go through, that's exactly where we're heading now. So, Senzo, you ready? Okay, excellent. Like I say, it's going to be a bit on the rough side through all of this. Lots of thorn trees here as well that we're going to have to be a little careful of. Just careful on your left there, Senzo. Now I'm going to try and keep up with Tinyo, but because this is not going to be very easy at all. And so let's go across to Tara and see where she's going and what her plans are from where Shadow was last seen.
Sure, it does sound like it's going to be quite a difficult one to keep on his tail, but I'm sure Tristan's going to do his utmost to try and keep him in his sight. So I'm just checking the termite mounds again as we go. We've just come back onto Triple M. As I say, if she could still be around here, just underneath one of the bushes here, but she's nice and well hidden. I think that's possibly the best thing for her. Maybe just let her rest that foot. So I'm not picking anything up crossing the road. There's some tracks going in there. Let's maybe just go in here just to poke a nose and... Let's say I'm not wanting to make any new tracks. Oh, yay! Somebody has been able to ID the plant. Pillow stuffing tree. Okay, I don't I don't think that's probably the name of it. Oh, it is wild. Okay, Judy and Jane saying it is the wild cotton. Thank you very much, Judy and Jane. That's really interesting. Quite a pretty... Ah, okay, it sounds like Tristan's got a slightly easier time of it now, so let's go back to him while we try this little trail here, see if we come right.
Well, we were having an easier time. He was on the road, and it seems as though every time you guys come to us, he decides to go off the road again. So now he's gone back off and is now walking back into this block for some reason. I don't know what he's doing or where he's going. Where are you off to? Now, I'm going to have to go back through this thicket. It's strange that he keeps doing this. He's just changing direction all the time. But this is typical of following these animals. They do this from time to time. Just careful there. Now let's hope that he's not going to end up going where I think he's going to go, because, well, that's going to make life a little bit more tough for us to keep up with him, but we'll try our very best. Seems as though he is going to go that way. Okay, well, that's the way it is. Dan, you're wondering how long the scent on the bushes lasts for. Well, Dan, it depends on environmental factors. So now in the winter months, it's going to last a lot longer due to the fact that there's no rain. So when we get rain in summer, we'll find that that scent gets washed away straight away. So it could be a day, it could be 2 days. But now in winter, you'll find that they generally scent mark and can be picked up, from my experience, from at least 2-3 weeks from now. They'll still be able to smell that scent. I would imagine though that their smell is that powerful that they're able to actually pick it up for a lot longer than that. And if the reason why I say that is, if we look at a situation where a leopard or a lion disappears from an area, you think about how long it takes for a new animal to start moving into that area and to work out that there's no longer a scent lingering of a dominant individual. And I take Kruger for example. It took Tundi a good 3 months before she started to move back to this area, and so it means that that scent has lingered for that amount of time, that she's been nervous of coming here because she smelt a territorial female, and she's worked out that, hang on a second, I can't actually go there because there is already a dominant female. So that's why you'll find it probably lasts a little bit longer than we're giving them credit for. Oof, this is lovely bush that we're trying to negotiate at the moment. Come on, Wendy, get round. Come on, Wendy. There we go. Right, well, I'm going to try and see if I can't keep up with him, because I don't know how much longer we're going to hold on to him. But while I do that, let's go to Tara, who I believe is also crashing and bashing her way through the bush, but apparently is far more sedate and far more pleasant than the area we're in.
Yep, I'd say so. So we're just on some tracks just to lead to Mendoza Road. I'm trying to avoid this branch. You good? There we go. She's not on top of there, is she? It sounds like he's been playing a game of hide and seek with you. Oh, hi Nick, welcome on board. Nick wondering what the smartest thing I've seen a leopard do. Sure, the smartest thing. This isn't boding well for leopards, is it? Sure, I'm just trying to think what the smartest thing. I think possibly just the hunting strategies that we've seen. It's the way, you know, they sometimes just get it so right and it's just so smooth. I think Kruger actually sticks in my foremind because she was on the quarantine open area. The lions were actually on the northern side, she was on the southern side, and she snuck in. She had everything just set up perfectly. The herd of impala, she snuck in, grabbed an impala and snuck out again, and there was no sound, absolutely no sound from that impala at all, and those lions had no idea. I've just gone off the track a little bit. There's the road, that she was actually there. I don't know if that was the smartest thing though, because had she have got it wrong, those lions would have known and come looking for her. Have you got any leopard stories where you can think of that they've done something smart? Yeah. Be interesting to hear if Tristan's had any interesting stories. So there is a female at one of the lodges around here that actually gives birth and hides the cubs in and around the lodge, which could be very smart because other predators are not as likely to come to the lodges, but you know, we do know it does happen. We've had lions walking through lodge, our area that we're staying in, the research camp. And the leopards come very close. So I think unfortunately we're gonna have to leave the search for Shadow. She might pop out a bit later. I think she is in here, but she might go and drink at some stage. Let's say it's quite a big block. We have used the tracks that were made yesterday, just so we're not damaging the bush any further. Just still checking any of these termite mounds, because there's no way to say she couldn't have changed direction, but oh! Fresh tracks going that way. So while we were down there, she might have popped out. I think these might be the cub. Okay, so while we try and follow up on these tracks, we're gonna head back and see how Tinyo's doing with Tristan on his tail.
Well, we're not on his tail because unfortunately we are stuck where we are at the moment. I'm just trying to see if I can't get us down, but it's not working at this stage. No. Now, Senzo is saying to me that the tires are caught at the moment, so we are stuck for now, which means that Tinyo is slowly but surely walking north away from us. So we're going to try and see if we can't just get out of this. So I don't know, Chantal, if you can go back to Tara while I try and work this out, please. Because we are properly stuck. So, well, you guys are just going to have to sit with me like this because there's nothing I can do right now. He's walked off slowly northwards now, so I just want to let Tax know so he can keep up with him. Tax is mobile north now, so if you go back towards central on the eastern side of the Skova, you might catch him. I'm stuck here, I'm not going to be able to come out. Now what I'm going to do, yeah, he's going north. I can't follow him, like I said, I'm stuck at the moment, but he was going north straight along from where you saw me. Right, so what we're going to have to try and do is try and see if we can't find a branch, so you guys can just join me while we do this. Now, it seems as though that's the reason why, is because the whole bank is caved in. So I'm going to try and see if I can't find a log, because if I can find a log for our our front right tire, then I'll be able to get some grip and be able to then pull ourselves out. So I'm going to try and see if I can't see something or find a log somewhere. Yeah, I need quite a big one, Senzo. These ones are all quite small. I'll have to try and search. I've got another one in front there that I can maybe use. Or we can maybe high lift jacket. That would be probably our best bet. I want to just try one more thing. It doesn't seem like Wendy's actually engaging properly at this stage, so it would be nice if I can just get her diff lock to engage, because once she's got her diff lock in, then I should be able to get enough traction to get myself out of here. But it seems as though the diff just doesn't want to engage at all. Alright, so we're going to go across to Tara while I unstuck myself and see if we can't get out of here, and we'll see you all in a little bit.
Oh no, Tristan. Does that mean we're going to have to come and rescue? Okay, so the tracks do go off down this game trail here. I think the two sets that we saw, I think, because they're in very thick sand, looked slightly fresher, but then as I got onto the trail a little bit further, I think I'd straddled them as I came around the corner, so that's why I missed them, because I was looking on the termite mounds at that stage. So I think they were from last night, but certainly looks like she's picked her way through there. But we can see there's the two tracks and then there's the one, so it's definitely her trail because she was keeping her foot held up. That's not, no, that's just a bush by the looks of it. So I'm thinking perhaps Philemon's cut line is our best bet, potentially. We could maybe, I'm not seeing any termite mounds in this vicinity here, apart from that one over there. Are we able to maybe just have a zoom in on that termite mound at the back there, if I try and pull forward a little bit? Just over there. Hi Jason, thanks for the reminder of Kruger taking over the leftovers from a wild dog kill. I had forgotten about that, which is obviously quite unusual in itself because the dogs don't tend to leave too much. Okay, I'm not seeing too much there. Yeah, there was that little piece was the one that I thought could have been a leopard head. Okay. So, maybe Treehouse Dam, if she wanted to go and drink, if she's gone that way. Might be worth it. Otherwise, yeah, we'll try down the other side of Zoe's. Hi Moisest, and welcome on board to you this morning. Saying that the animals look quite relaxed around the vehicles are the times that we wish we were on foot. And we do walking safaris, so I think at some stage, I think next week, you'll be treated to some walking safaris. But obviously the vehicles allow us to cover quite a lot of ground, so we, as I say, we're going to now try the road a bit further over, see if we can pick up the tracks and see if we can get on the trail of where Shadow has actually gone. The leopard, the female leopard that was seen last night. I see, I'm seeing leopards on each termite mound now. There's another one up on top of that one. Sitting in a typical leopard pose, but of course it's not. I was actually just saying I've done pretty well not seeing too many branch animals and rock animals.